And I'm very privileged now to be joined by Singhal. Many of you will know her and recognize her. She's a IAS officer from the 2014 batch. She topped the UPSC in 2014. She has been serving for 10 years now as an upright IAS officer across several duties. Singhal is also specially abled, and she came into the spotlight for the incredible dint and hard work of how someone can get to be in this elite service despite all the challenges they face. Ms. Singhal, welcome. Thank you very much for speaking to India today. It's a privilege to get your time. I know, and I'm fully aware of how busy you are. So I first of all want to say I'm grateful for your time today. I wish the topic that we are discussing was a more positive one. But as we know, over the last 1 week, Ms. Singhal, the Puja Khedkar case has put a cloud over the IAS in general, the selection process in particular. An individual has become sort of larger than life and a face of how things happen. But I wanted to get your opening comments first off on what you think about this entire affair. Puja Khedkar has been, her training has been suspended. She's been summoned back. I'm not asking you to, take an individual take on, a fellow IAS officer, but your general sense of what you've seen play out this week, ma'am.
One, if it's, I do believe that somewhere, some things that we are not aware of, the world lets us know. So that way, it's good that if these kind of things are happening, those of us who are unaware and who are in the system, maybe we get to know and we can take some action. But on the other hand, what has also happened is that a lot of genuine officers have been maligned. And the issue with that is that, people with disabilities actually spend their lives trying to do the things that their disability stops them from. And coming into the services, that's the biggest thing. Right? As in part of our training itself, we are made to do all the things that we thought we couldn't do, and we're at least made to try. Yeah. So there are a lot of officers with disabilities who've been trying things outside of their comfort zone, outside of what their disabilities have allowed them till now. And because of that, or because they were doing their jobs, people have started questioning them as well.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people have gotten maligned on social media without fact checking, without anybody taking genuine opinions. And I think that's where the problem with this whole thing has happened. That everybody is now under a lens of suspicion, unless your disability is as visible as it is in my case. And especially for people with visual and hearing disabilities, it would never be that visible. So that's one bad thing that has happened. But the good thing is, in future, if a lot of people are going to be extremely careful when they do these deceptive things, when they try and take away seats from people who genuinely deserve them. I mean, it's just a very small thing. Yes. The whole idea of this particular reservation is that it is going to a person who's actually suffered on their own. These are people with disabilities have by themselves suffered through their lives, just going to school, getting a degree, even passing a school. I'm currently posted in Arunachal. In a place like this, schools are up to 2 kilometers to 5 kilometers away from your home. So for a person with disability, imagine going to school every day, right? And you are taking away that one platform from those people. I mean, how low can you fall? How low can you fall? And I'll be very honest, I don't actually talk about this ever generally. I get a lot of messages by people saying, "Ma'am, what disabilities will be accepted?" As if they're trying, if this disability is accepted, they will get a certificate according to that. So I end up scolding them and I end up sending them away as to what do you mean, what disabilities will be affected? Are you going to change your disability according to what is affected? And a lot of people, have actually had the audacity to ask me also, how do we get our certificate, up to the 40%? So there is a problem that if you're at 30% or a 35%, you're not eligible. But if you're a 40%, you're eligible. So, people try and game the system and try and go into the medical exam prepared to get a higher percentage. And there are a lot of those. I have gotten a lot of those messages. I hope none of those people have ever cleared. And I end up scolding them and I end up making them feel really ashamed about it. But that is a fact of how people think. It's a very selfish and only I matter sort of thinking that people have. without even recognizing that the kind of people that you're trying to hurt,
Correct.
they're the ones who are really, really, really affected.
I wanted to actually follow up on that, and I'm glad, Ms. Singhal, that you opened by talking about people, who are being unfairly maligned, and that's what my opening comment on this was as well. All the people who are being named indiscriminately on social media. On India Today, we are very, very careful. We've reached out to many of them. We've got their documents. We are doing our work. We will not be firing indiscriminately because we are responsible. We are taking this as a genuine campaign, and that's why your voice is so important. Speaking about Puja Khedkar in particular, and I know it's representative because Puja Khedkar has become an emotive issue and people feel angry about it. But Ms. Singhal, the every fact about this case is so shocking. In your world, Ms. Singhal, could you imagine not turning up to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences 6 times and counting to, mandatorily prove your disability medically? Can you imagine that happening and getting away with it?
I am extremely scared of things like that, so I would not do that.
No, and the fact that so many of these certificates and documents have turned out to be either falsified or dubious, economically weaker section certificates have also turned out to be dubious, in addition to not turning up to AIIMS. Is that even conceivable for someone like you? I mean, you topped the UPSC, you have special abilities, you are a deserving and upright officer. How does something like this make you feel, ma'am?
We get disappointed, but then we came into the system knowing that we won't be able to change the whole world. We won't be able to fix everything. So let us do whatever we can. And whenever we find something going wrong, let us try to fix that. So I'm glad that if there are wrong things happening, the rest of the world is letting us know, like I said before, that we are getting to know, we are getting that information. We are, able to now take actions if they are deserved. So, but honestly, I'll tell you one more thing, that generally
Yes.
what happens is that what we've seen is that if someone does not appear for the medical test, they keep getting reminders by UPSC,
Yes.
by DOPT, and at the end, they are never confirmed in service unless their medical is confirmed. So I'm not sure, since this is still a probation case, I think the final action would have been taken at the time of confirmation, which is after you complete your probation of 2 years, actually. So your confirmation happens when you pass out of academy. So for after 2 years. So I think
Yes.
the action would have been taken at that point had the medical not been approved till then.
You
So
know,
confirmation does not ever happen without all paperwork being completed, all tests being completed, all formalities, being proved correct.
The
Sorry,
other
my light
aspect
went.
of this, that's okay. We can see you, Ms. Singhal. Don't worry about that. The other aspect of this entire case, and I apologize for getting into the particulars, but the reason I'm asking is because the public at large is quite shocked about all of these things. In the Puja Khedkar case, claiming the benefit of a non-creamy layer OBC, economically weaker section concession to get in, but then being found to be from a family that has 40 crore rupees in assets, driving an Audi car. The public is saying, our worst fears and worst beliefs and biases about the bureaucracy stand confirmed in this one person. And my concern is, the public will say, "Arey, ye to IAS hai, sab aise hi hain," and upright, honest officers like you, have to take the hit as well.
Yeah. So let me say one thing, and this is something that people should think about. You know what becomes the news? Something that is out of the ordinary, right?
Yes.
So this case is news. You must realize that this is out of the ordinary. And we keep forgetting that. We keep taking those things that come in news as the reality of the whole world. We extrapolate that and we say that everybody is like that. But you realize news is specifically of things that are out of the normal, right? News is always made by things that don't happen every day, that are special, that have been uniquely done. Which is so if this case is highlighted and there are I don't know, I haven't seen the papers, I don't know the person, I don't know anything about it, I just know what media is saying.
Yes.
So if you must realize that everybody must realize that if it's in the news, then that means that it's special and this doesn't normally happen. So, and all the other people that you've maligned, and one of them happens to be my own roommate from academy and actually my closest friend in my batch, who has been maligned so badly. May I take her name and may I correct people on her case?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you can. Please go ahead. Miss Singhal, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Okay, we're just trying to fix that audio with Miss Singhal. I think she can't hear me, but yeah. The point made by Ira Singhal, and you couldn't find a more upright and deserving officer than her. Topper in the UPSC in 2014, someone with special abilities who now serves. She's joining me live from the Northeast at this point of time, where she is posted and doing her duties. And she says something very important, viewer. Okay, we've got Ira Singhal back. Ms. Singhal, you were making a point. You wanted to say something about your roommate who's been unfairly maligned. Go ahead.
So she, Nitika Khandelwal, she happens to be my roommate and she's a visually challenged candidate. And her name has been maligned everywhere. And because I know her personally and I've lived with her for 2 years while we were doing our probation, I can definitely say she's one of the most amazing officers I have met. She's extremely dedicated, extremely sincere. And the video that they're showing of her was of the time when she got a complaint as an SDM to go check the things that were happening in the RTO office. Right. And she went there and she was trying to figure out what is happening. And by the way, this is a person with visual disability and she has been doing such a fantastic job. She got awarded at national level for her work. And people are taking that small video. And by the way, they know what the video was of. And they've still taken this small clip of that and showing it, saying that she's taking a driving test. She doesn't drive. She's never got a driving license. She might have had as a child, when she just got out of school, because her condition is degenerative. So when she joined the services, from then to now, also her condition has worsened. And she can, I don't want to talk about her disability and, sort of put that out there.
I understand.
You must realize it's a very personal thing for a lot of people. They try every day to act as normal as possible and to fit in as normal as possible. And when you're an officer, you try and do your job as normally as possible.
Absolutely.
And, then when people come up and make you feel ashamed about it or sort of try and make that into an issue, that, because you're trying to behave normal, we're going to say that, oh my God, you're a fraud. How does that
absolutely. Totally unacceptable, and I think we are 100% aligned on that. You will never see that kind of thing happen on India today. Hopefully all of that stuff will be restricted only to social media. Even that is unfair, of course, but I'm just saying that as a responsible channel that actually broke the Puja Khedkar story, we recognize that harassment and indiscriminate allegations against upright officers is simply it simply cannot be. It's unconscionable. It should not happen. So I'm glad you spoke about your roommate. One final question, Ira Singhal. I take your point that the Puja Khedkar story is probably the exception. Every organization has bad apples. But for a service like the IAS, which is so elite, Ms. Singhal, 180 officers are inducted every single year, making it perhaps the most difficult, the most sought-after civil service in the country, one of the most sought-after civil services in the entire world. This does give the public some fears, some anxiety about whether the best people are running the country. How would you address that? This is an opportunity to address that situation. Okay, unfortunately, I think we've lost that video link with Ira Singhal, but I'll leave it there because we're out of time and hopefully we'll be able to engage with her on a stronger internet link a little later. But very, very grateful to have Ira Singhal take my questions here. Someone like her carries the gravitas and the seriousness with which to address this issue, and that's why we invited her. She was kind enough to join us all the way from the Northeast and be live with us on this story.